All right, so buckle up, everybody, because today we're taking a deep dive into how AI is about to totally transform education.
Yeah, we're talking serious disruption.
And our guide for this wild ride is a Turkish professor, M. Yazar Ozden.
Oh, this guy's a rock star in the academic world.
And he gave this amazing lecture, super insightful, to a group of, other educators and researchers.
So we know it's going to be good, right?
Oh, yeah, the good stuff. And he had everyone laughing, too.
He's a funny guy.
Really uses humor to make his points.
Okay.
But let me tell you, some of his ideas are whoa, mind-blowing.
He's not afraid to push the boundaries.
No, not at all. Right off the bat, he hits us with this idea.
And it's a big one.
Yeah, that's just knowing stuff.
Just having all this knowledge.
It's not going to cut it anymore.
Not even close.
You got to be able to do something with it.
Right, apply it.
Exactly. He actually compares knowledge to nitrogen.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, we breathe it in, but it doesn't change us. We just exhale it back out.
So knowledge is like the air we breathe, but it's the actions we take, the skills we develop.
That's what really matters.
That's what makes it different.
That's what makes us human, I guess.
Well, in a world where you can just ask ChatGPT for any piece of information,
Oh, totally.
What sets you apart are the skills you bring to the table, what you can actually do with that knowledge.
Okay, so knowledge is like nitrogen, got it. But then Ozden goes even further.
Further? How much further can you go?
He starts talking about the end of the silicon era.
Whoa, the end of silicon.
In computing, yeah.
So, what comes after silicon?
Well, he predicts a future dominated by carbon-based computing.
Carbon-based? Now that's next level.
And he suggests that this shift could be so powerful that it leads to entirely new human species.
Wait, new human species? What? Are we talking X-Men here?
Oh, maybe not X-Men, but he throws out terms like recombinant humans and Homo artificialis.
Okay, now that's just wild.
It's pretty out there, but
Yeah.
It really makes you think, right? What does it even mean to be human if we're creating these super advanced beings?
And how will these advancements in computing change not just how we learn, but what it means to be human in the first place?
Exactly. Big questions, but it doesn't stop there.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, yeah. We're just getting started. Ozden then throws Web 3.0 into the mix.
Oh, boy. Here we go. Web 3.0. Everyone's talking about it.
And he sees it as another major disruptor to education, both good and bad.
Two sides of the same coin.
Exactly. So on the one hand, imagine decentralized credentialing systems.
So you have more control over your own educational record.
Exactly. Or personalized learning platforms that use blockchain to tailor your learning experience.
It all sounds very futuristic, but also, is it realistic?
That's what we're here to unpack.
Well, the potential is definitely there.
Oh, yeah, but Austin's also realistic about the challenges.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Give me some examples.
Well, he talks about ethical considerations, access issues, and even the potential for these technologies to further concentrate power and wealth.
Oh, I see. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
No, it's not. And he points out that Web 3.0 could totally shift the role of teachers, too.
What would teachers even do in this new world?
That's the question, right? I mean, if AI tutors are doing some of the teaching.
And information is readily available everywhere.
Yeah, then educators would have to adapt, focus on those uniquely human skills that AI just can't replicate.
Okay, so you've got AI changing the nature of knowledge, potentially changing what it means to be human.
And Web 3.0 shaking up the whole education system.
It's like we need a whole new framework for understanding learning in this crazy new world.
And that's where Austin's discussion of learning theories comes in.
Oh, the theories. Everyone loves a good learning theory.
Yeah, well, he starts by reviewing the traditional ones, like behaviorism, cognitivism, constructivism.
The classics, the old school.
Right, stuff you're probably already familiar with, but then, and this is where it gets interesting.
Hit me with it.
He argues that these theories just don't cut it anymore.
Whoa, really? The classics are out.
He thinks they're outdated.
So, why? What's wrong with them?
Well, his point is that they were developed before social media.
Yes, the social media era.
Before the constant bombardment of information, the blurring of lines between fact and fiction.
They just don't account for how our very perceptions are being shaped by these new technologies and the social environments they create.
Right, and he argues that education needs to deal with this reality.
What are we supposed to do about it?
Well, he has some ideas.
Lay it on me.
He introduces a new theory he calls percepticism.
Percepticism. Okay, I like the sound of that.
And it's all about how social environments directly shape our perceptions.
Which then shapes what we learn and how we learn it.
Exactly. So think about it.
I am thinking about it.
The information you see online, the algorithms that curate your news feed, the influencers you follow, It all shapes your understanding of the world.
And Osden says education needs to address this head on.
We can't just ignore it.
Equip students with the tools to navigate this complex information landscape.
Exactly. And it's not just about navigating the digital world either.
Oh, there's more.
Oh yeah, Osden connects this to the broader issue of the post-truth era,
The post-truth era. Ugh, don't get me started.
where misinformation and manipulation run rampant,
It's everywhere you look.
He even brings up the Cambridge Analytica scandal,
Oh, man, that was a mess.
which really highlights how our data can be used to influence our perceptions and choices.
It's scary stuff.
And Osden says that this is where the need for critical thinking and media literacy becomes absolutely paramount.
Students need to be able to, spot fake news.
Yeah, discern fact from fiction, evaluate sources, recognize bias.
And ultimately make informed decisions based on solid evidence.
Otherwise, we're all just going to get swept away in the tide of misinformation.
It's like a tidal wave of BS.
And we can't talk about AI in education without talking about the tools themselves.
Oh, right, the actual AI tools. What are we talking about here?
Well, Osden mentions things like AI tutors and automated grading systems.
Stuff that's already being used in some classrooms.
Yeah, and these tools have the potential to, totally revolutionize education.
Revolutionize, really.
Imagine AI tutors that can provide personalized feedback and adapt to your individual learning style.
That would be amazing, like a personal tutor for every student.
Or AI-powered grading systems that can analyze student work in depth.
And free up teachers' time for more meaningful interactions with students.
It all sounds pretty incredible, right?
It does, but I'm sure there are some downsides, too.
Oh, definitely. Osden doesn't sugarcoat it.
So what are the potential problems?
He talks about the risks of bias in AI algorithms
Ah, right. Back to the bias issue.
and the importance of using these tools responsibly and ethically.
We can't just throw AI into the classroom without thinking about the consequences.
Exactly. He really drives home the point that AI should augment human capabilities, not replace them.
It's about finding the right balance, using these technologies to enhance learning, not hinder it.
It's a delicate dance.
A high-tech balancing act.
And we're only just beginning to figure it out.
Well, this is just part one, right?
That's right.
So there's more to come.
Oh, yeah. In part 2, we're going to dive deeper into Osden's ideas about skills development, the changing role of teachers, and what all this means for the future of learning.
Sounds like we're in for a wild ride.
Buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy one.
Can't wait.
So AI is going to shake things up in education. We get that. But what does that actually look like? What skills are we talking about?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? And Osden doesn't give us a list or anything.
He doesn't give us the top 10 skills you need to survive the AI apocalypse.
No top 10 lists, but he does offer a framework for thinking about it.
Okay. A framework, I like it. Structure.
Yeah, so he says we need to move away from this outdated model of education where students are just passive.
Passive. Like zombies.
Kind of. He actually calls them passive carriers of information.
So we're just shoving information into their brains.
But not giving them the tools to use it.
It's like we're giving them ingredients, but no recipe.
Exactly. And this brings us back to his main point, right? Knowing is not enough.
You got to be able to do something. Yeah.
Yes. So what does that mean in terms of skills?
Yeah. Give us the goods.
Well, he highlights things like critical thinking, problem solving, adaptability.
Those higher order thinking skills, the stuff that makes us human.
Yeah, and it's not just about those hard skills.
Oh, there's more.
Soft skills are becoming even more important too.
Soft skills? Okay, like what?
Things like communication, collaboration, empathy.
Emotional intelligence, all that good stuff.
Exactly, because if AI is taking over all the routine tasks,
Which it probably will.
what sets humans apart are those uniquely human skills.
The stuff AI can't replicate.
Exactly, our ability to connect with each other, understand complex emotions, navigate social situations.
So we're talking the human touch.
Yeah, the stuff that makes us, us.
So how do we actually teach these skills? Can you teach empathy?
That's a good question, and Osden suggests that we need to rethink our teaching methods.
Ditch the lectures.
Well, not necessarily, but he advocates for more interactive, experiential learning.
Learning by doing.
Exactly. Give students opportunities to experiment, to fail even.
Fail. That's the word.
In a safe environment, of course.
Okay, so they can learn from their mistakes.
Exactly. And collaborate, create.
So things like project-based learning, simulations, real-world applications.
Yeah. Make it authentic, engage those students, prepare them for the real world.
And AI can actually help with this, right?
Absolutely. Osden talks about the potential of AI tutors,
personalized feedback, adapting to individual learning styles.
It's like having a personal coach for every subject.
But he also cautions against becoming too reliant on these tools. AI should enhance, not replace, human interaction and guidance.
Right, it's all about finding that balance.
Okay, so big changes ahead. What does this mean for teachers? Like, are they going to be out of a job?
Yeah. Some people worry about that, but Ozden thinks the role of the teacher is going to evolve.
Evolve. So, like, what? They become cyborgs?
Maybe not cyborgs, but instead of being the primary source of information,
A sage on the stage.
they become facilitators, mentors, guides.
Like helping students navigate this crazy world of information.
Yeah, curators of learning experiences, helping students develop those essential skills.
The human skills we were just talking about.
Exactly, and they need to be adaptable, willing to embrace new technologies and teaching methods.
So, lifelong learners themselves.
Exactly, always evolving, always learning.
And speaking of new technologies, Ozden brings up something else really interesting.
What's that?
The potential for AI to personalize learning.
Personalized learning, like tailored to each student.
At scale.
Whoa, that's a game changer.
Imagine a world where every student has a customized learning experience.
Based on their individual needs, strengths, interests,
It's like having a personal tutor for every subject.
which, let's be real, most students can't afford.
Exactly. So AI could make that level of personalized learning accessible to everyone,
That would be amazing.
especially for students who struggle in traditional classrooms or need more individual attention.
It could be a real lifeline for them.
And it's not just about personalized content.
It's about the pacing, the style of learning, the whole experience.
So AI could create a truly adaptable learning experience.
That meets the needs of every student.
No more one-size-fits-all education.
It's like tailoring a suit, but for your brain.
And let's not forget about accessibility,
Oh yeah, online learning platforms,
especially those powered by Web 3.0,
breaking down geographical barriers.
making quality education available to anyone with an internet connection.
So powerful, especially for underserved communities or students who don't have access to traditional schools.
It could really level the playing field.
And Ozden also talks about AI revolutionizing assessment.
Assessment, you mean like tests and exams?
Yeah, imagine exams that actually measure critical thinking.
Problem solving, creativity.
Instead of just rote memorization,
There's no more cramming for tests.
hopefully an AI could analyze student work for deeper understanding
Provide more personalized feedback
and free up teachers from all that grading.
so they can actually, teach.
Exactly. Focus on those human interactions that are so important.
Okay, so all this sounds amazing, but how do we actually make these changes happen?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It's one thing to talk about it, but another thing to actually do it,
And Ozden acknowledges that it won't be easy.
especially with all the bureaucracy in education.
The resistance to change,
It's like trying to turn a giant ship around.
It takes time, effort, a lot of convincing.
But Ozden's optimistic.
He thinks it's possible.
He points to examples of successful education reforms in the past.
It can be done, but it takes collaboration
Innovation, a willingness to challenge the status quo.
and a lot of patience.
But he also makes this point that's kind of scary,
What's that?
that technology might be changing faster than our education systems can adapt.
We're playing catch-up.
And that's where lifelong learning comes in.
It's not enough to just get a degree and call it a day.
You got to keep learning, keep evolving,
Upskill, reskill, stay ahead of the curve.
because the skills you need today might be obsolete tomorrow.
And Ozden even thinks traditional universities might become obsolete.
Whoa, really? College is over.
He thinks they might be replaced by online learning platforms.
More flexible, more personalized.
It's a bold prediction.
But with online learning growing so fast,
And the demand for skills-based education increasing.
it's not impossible.
It's definitely something to think about.
So I've talked about the challenges, the potential solutions, some pretty futuristic possibilities.
It's a lot to process.
So what do you think? Are you feeling optimistic or pessimistic about the future of education?
That's a tough one.
I know it's a lot to take in.
I'm cautiously optimistic, I guess.
Cautiously optimistic. I like that.
I think there are a lot of exciting opportunities out there.
The potential is huge.
But it's going to require a lot of effort from everyone.
Educators, policymakers, tech developers,
Society as a whole.
to make sure these technologies are used ethically and effectively.
To the benefit of all learners.
Because if we do it right,
This could be a real turning point for education.
a chance to create a more equitable, engaging, and empowering learning experience for everyone.
It's an exciting time to be alive.
We've covered so much ground in this deep dive. It's crazy, right?
It really is. From carbon-based computing, like, whoa, to, figuring out how to teach kids to think critically when the world feels like it's gone bonkers.
Totally. But there's like this one last thing we got to tackle.
The human element.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how do we ensure all this cool tech is actually used responsibly, ethically, especially in education, where it really impacts, well, humans?
Right. It's easy to get caught up in all the shiny new AI toys and forget about the people involved.
Exactly. So how do we do it? How do we make sure this powerful technology doesn't backfire?
Well, Osden doesn't sugarcoat it. He talks about those potential downsides we were hinting at earlier.
Like, what kind of downsides are we talking about?
He brings up bias in algorithms, for one.
Oh, yeah. The bias.
And data privacy, which is, like, huge these days.
So let's break it down, the bias thing first. How do we make sure these AI systems we're using in schools are actually fair to all students?
Well, it all starts with the data, right? These algorithms, they're trained on massive data sets.
Like, how massive are we talking?
I mean, huge. And the problem is, if those data sets reflect, existing societal biases, then, well, those biases get baked into the algorithms.
It's like garbage in, garbage out, right?
Exactly. Feed the AI bad data, and you get bad results.
So, like, give me an example. How could this actually play out in a school?
Okay, imagine an AI system that's supposed to help students figure out their career path.
Seems helpful.
It could be. But let's say the data it's trained on is full of, those old gender stereotypes, like more men in STEM fields, more women in caregiving roles.
Yeah, I see where you're going with this.
Well, the AI might end up unintentionally steering girls away from STEM careers.
Even if they're totally brilliant in science and math.
Even if they're the next Einstein. And that's just one example.
So what can we do about it? How do we fix this?
Well, got to be super intentional about the data we use to train these systems, right? Make sure it's diverse, representative of the actual student population.
Not just like some skewed sample.
Right. And it's not just about having a bunch of different data points. It's also about understanding the nuances of that data, making sure the algorithms aren't perpetuating, harmful stereotypes.
This sounds complicated.
It is. It's a team effort, for sure. Data scientists, educators, social scientists, all got to work together.
Sounds like we need some new rules, too. Like for the tech companies building these AI systems.
Oh, absolutely. We need ways to audit these systems for bias, hold developers accountable for creating fair and equitable tools. Transparency is key here, too.
Transparency? Like, what do you mean?
If AI is making decisions about a student's education, those students and their families, they deserve to know how those decisions are being made.
No more black boxes.
Exactly. No more mystery algorithms. We need what they call explainable AI, where the decision-making process is clear, understandable.
So bias is a big one. But you mentioned data privacy, too. And with all this student data being collected, that's got to be a major concern.
Absolutely. And Osden really emphasizes this point. Like, with AI systems gathering all this info about students, how do we guarantee their privacy is protected?
Yeah, that's some sensitive stuff.
It is. We need serious data protection policies and regulations in place, clear guidelines on what data can be collected, how it's used, who has access to it. And it's not just about protecting that data from being, misused or exploited. It's about giving students and families control over their own information.
So, students should have a say in what data is collected about them.
Absolutely. They should know how it's being used, and they should have the option to opt out if they want to. It's their data, after all.
Listening to Osden talk about all this, it hit me that this isn't just about technology.
It's about values.
Exactly. The choices we make about how we use AI in education, those choices reflect our values as a society. Do we prioritize efficiency and standardization, or equity and individualization? Do we value critical thinking and human connection? Or do we risk becoming too reliant on, machines to do the thinking for us?
Those are some heavy questions, and honestly, there are no easy answers. But the good news is we get to decide. We have the power to shape how all this unfolds.
That's actually pretty empowering.
It is. Osden isn't just highlighting the problems. He's urging us to take action. He wants educators, policymakers, tech developers, everyone to work together to ensure AI is used ethically and effectively to benefit all learners. And remember, it's not just about dodging the risks. It's also about harnessing the incredible potential of AI to make education more equitable, engaging, and empowering for every single student.
This deep dive has been, like a total brain explosion.
Right.
we've explored this incredible power of AI to transform education, the challenges of preparing students for a future that's like constantly changing.
And the ethical dilemmas we all need to be thinking about because they're not going away.
Absolutely. And this is just the beginning of the conversation.
We've just scratched the surface here.
So keep exploring these ideas. Talk about them with your friends, your colleagues, your families. Be a part of shaping the future of learning.
Because at the end of the day, it's in our hands.
That's a great point to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. And until next time, keep those minds curious.